Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
And hello and welcome to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community. I am not Drew Schlosberg. Drew is, I don't know where he is. It doesn't really matter because half of the time he doesn't know either. But here's the important thing for being here is to showcase your organizations and those you serve in the community and people who you will find out during this podcast and others too with the Spotlight on the Community. There's passion and love for the community. San Diego, as we all well know, is America's finest city. And, it's people say, well, that's just a title. No, it's the truth.
It's the truth.
Absolutely, it is the truth. And we want to welcome this morning Sarah McSpadden, who is the CEO and president, or did I get it the wrong way? Should it be president first and CEO?
It doesn't matter.
Of Elizabeth Hospice. And it's an organization I have been very, very happy to be involved with for the past, I'm going to say it's probably 3-4 years.
It has been quite a while, Dave, and we really appreciate it.
And it's actually, it is really, really, really nice to be a part of what Elizabeth Hospice does. And Sarah and I have been talking over the past few weeks, and I don't really know exactly what Elizabeth Hospice does. And a lot of people will, and Sarah had mentioned earlier today that some people, when you mention hospice, they kind of scrunch up their face and they go, ooh. And
sometimes they physically move away from you. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
So can you, in a nutshell, kind of explain what Elizabeth Hospice is?
So Elizabeth Hospice is, first of all, it's a wonderful organization. It's been here for 45 years.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to celebrate our 45th anniversary this year. It's a hospice organization started in 1978. So we've been in the community for 45 years, right? It started by a nurse. It was all volunteer from the beginning. The only person that was paid was our medical director. He got $1 a year.
Oh, wow.
And it was really before insurance even covered hospice. It was more of a movement, a charity movement with volunteers. Today, Elizabeth Hospice is a very large nonprofit organization that offers more than just hospice to the community, right? Hospice is offered through insurance, and most people's insurance covers it. But Elizabeth Hospice actually extends services out to the community through grief services for those that are sad when they've lost a loved one. We also offer pediatric services for those really small people that have end-of-life needs. And we have volunteers and just a wealth of programs that go on in the hospice, aside from just offering the hospice services.
How did you get involved with Elizabeth Hospice?
So probably about 20 years ago, my dad died. And I was 40 at the time and had never really experienced hospice before. And he had a hospice experience. At the time, I was working as a nurse in a home health organization. And prior to that, as an emergency room ICU nurse.
Oh, wow.
And when I really experienced what my dad and my mom went through, I thought, gosh, hospice is something that really speaks to me. And I started exploring it then. So I've been in hospice probably, 22 years maybe.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, quite a while.
And it's the thing about my wife is a nurse, so I almost understand, where your mind is, where your whole thoughts are in dealing with her for the past 36 years. Or longer. Gosh, well, we've been married 36. But just your love for humanity, I guess, and that's probably what got you into nursing in the first place.
It is. Well, if you think about it, in my family, my mom was a nurse. My 2 aunts were nurses.
Oh, wow.
I have 2 cousins that are nurses. And so it's almost a calling for us in our family. But I remember watching my mom be a nurse at Tri-City Emergency Room. I sat there one day and watched her take care of people that, a young woman, no shoes, new baby, very sick, and just treated her like, the precious gold that she is to the community. And it just inspired me. And I was born and raised in San Diego, so it makes me proud to be here serving the community.
Okay.
Graduated Orange Glen High School, raised all my kids here. So, so I was kind of brought to healthcare just because I do like caring for people. I was raised that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Nice.
Give back.
And it's kind of, my older son works for an air ambulance organization.
Oh, nice.
He's done that now probably for 10 years, and he's worked for several different organizations, but he's got the same kind of care.
Yeah.
I mean, the same kind of a heart and the way he feels. And my involvement since I got to San Diego, actually before, was involved with animal welfare organizations too. And both my kids are just the same way. So,
isn't that about the same, right? Like animals are your family sometimes too.
Yeah.
So,
well, but parents, if you do it right, I guess it kind of trickles down through the rest of the family as well.
I think it does.
So, when you mention hospice to people, which is Elizabeth Hospice specifically, it tends to people with end-of-life situations.
So when you talk about hospice, most people don't genuinely understand what that is. And so they do move away because it kind of brings mortality right into your face, right in front of you. And it's a tough thing to talk about. But typically you have to talk about hospice when you're in a rough place, right? When someone's given your family member a diagnosis or that that's coming, right? You have to make a tough choice. And so understanding hospice is not something that people seek out or want to know about until a time when it's hard to concentrate on exactly how to pick a hospice and make the right choices, right? And so part of what our job is as a hospice community is to make sure that the community really understands what are their choices. How do you find a good hospice? How do you make that decision for your loved one? And I always tell our staff this, the most important thing about choosing a hospice is when everything is said and done and your loved one has passed, that you in your mind know that the video that will play over and over in your head for the rest of your life on how did that go for your loved one is a positive one. Even though it's a sad time, it's a positive experience because you feel like you did what was best for them. So that's the goal of hospice, is to make it the best passing for the person who's losing their life and also make it something that's tolerable and allows the family to reengage in the community and process through their grief and sadness so that video in their head through the rest of their life actually plays and they have positive experiences about it.
Sure. You present that very well.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad, because that's really how it should be.
And again, when it comes to end of life, there are certain things that people don't want to address or they don't want to think about, they don't want to talk about. And is Elizabeth Hospice there to help them with things like that? Now, as you know, if you know that someone is nearing their end of life, there are things that you have to deal with. You have to deal with insurance. You have to deal with their personal relationships,
trusts and relationships and everything, funeral planning.
And that in itself is difficult.
Even funerals.
Yeah. In the fact that, what are we going to do here?
I mean, it's as simple as, is it a casket or do we do cremation? I mean, there's so many decisions. And it's funny, we were sharing together this morning the story of a family member of mine who really said, gosh, I think my loved one is so sick at this point, we're past having hospice services. And I said to her, no, that's what hospice is. You want to get hospice involved sooner rather than later, but you want to get them involved no matter what stage you're in. And so with Elizabeth Hospice, when we come in, we'll help. We have spiritual counselors that help with funerals and funeral planning, and we'll engage your church if you have a church, or do the service themselves at your home. We've got social workers that help you with trusts, retirement plans, insurance, all those things. We write letters to other foreign countries and borders so that people can cross the border to come to funerals, or we can get bodies down to Mexico if they need to go back to Mexico. So there's a lot that goes into this.
These are things that every day. We don't think about this
No,
every day. We
no,
think
and you
about-
shouldn't have to think about it, right? But when it comes time, my gosh, the list is long of things you have to really figure out. And so what I said to my loved one this week was, let us in, let us figure this out. And she was amazed by how much the staff did to really help her be the wife. She could be the wife, not the caregiver, not the insurance broker, not the person on the phone calling the funeral home or the coroner, or whatever has to happen. She could sit at the bedside, lay in the bed, hold his hand, and be his wife. And that's the important part. That's the video at the end of their life. That's the video you want at the end of life. Yeah.
You're listening to Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community. I'm Dave Mason in for Drew. It's on Cloudcast Media, and it's brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. We're in the Mission Fed studios today with Sarah McSpadden, President and CEO of Elizabeth Hospice. And you've already, I think, shed some light on that word hospice, which is a difficult thing, really, for people to think about.
It is. And so there's a part that I really want to make sure that the audience really gets today. Hospice is really important. There are some wonderful hospices in San Diego, but currently hospice is really kind of under siege a bit. And there's a real concern about it. And I think it's important for the community to understand what's going on in the hospice industry, to understand how they make choices for hospice, and to really have some key ideas on what questions to ask when you're choosing a hospice. So let me kind of clarify that.
Sure.
The state of California did an audit. And as an example, in California versus Florida, Florida has 43 hospices in it, 43 for the entire population, which is perfect.
Yeah.
Consistent care, great delivery, long-standing providers. California has more than 2,000 providers. And in that, there's 3 different levels of hospice providers in California. There's those that are in it to make money. They buy and sell licenses in California. One man owns 112 licenses and makes his money selling them to people who think they can start one. And then there's that middle group, the second group of those that buy those licenses and thinks they can provide good hospice services, and they don't. So they come out, they admit you to hospice, and then you never see them again. And at the same time, they're billing Medicare. So there's a huge hospice fraud issue in California, which makes it really rough for families that are trying to make a choice because they don't know who they are. And so I say, today, if I do anything, it's help you figure out how to choose your hospice, because there are really good ones in San Diego that do a great job, just like Elizabeth. And then there's those that you're in a tough place. You're trying to make a decision. You're trying to do what's best for your loved one. That video at the end of life, you want it to be positive, right?
Right.
And you pick someone, and like this one person said to me, we chose a hospice. The person showed up. She had long fingernails, high heels, drove a Tesla. Nothing against Teslas, but stayed for 20 minutes and we never saw her again.
That's a problem.
And that is a problem.
Yeah.
And so, and families don't know what to expect. So 3 things about hospice that you should know in choosing one. Ask them, when push comes to shove and my loved one needs help, 24/7, do you offer that service? It's called continuous care. Do you offer continuous care? A yes or no. Do you have volunteers? Because our volunteers provide music therapy and pet therapy, and they'll go come to your home while you go grocery shopping to give you a break. So they read books to people. Do they have a volunteer program? And will they offer grief services for counseling for anybody in the family that needs it, free of charge for a year after your loved one has passed? Because right now we offer counseling services to anybody that's had hospice, but we also offer counseling services to 23 school districts for kids that lose somebody in their family, like an emergent thing. If there's a trauma at the school, ask that hospice, do you provide grief services to anybody in the family that needs it? In-person counseling, and via mail, because some mailings go out.
Sure.
But do you do that? So those are 3 things: volunteers, continuous care, and grief services. And if they don't have that, it's not a good choice.
Wow. Before we go any further, and we will do that, we're going to take a quick break here. You're listening to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community, and it's brought to you by Mission Federal Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego. For over 60 years, we're in the Mission Fed studios, and we will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you. But something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
And as we like to say, we're back in the Mission Fed studios. This is Drew Schlosberg, Spotlight on the Community. I'm Dave Mason, in for Drew this time around. And we're on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Our special guest today is Sarah McSpadden, President and CEO of Elizabeth Hospice, shedding some light on something that people don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
But people have to talk about it. And when you bring up the things that you've brought up so far and what is really involved in the end-of-life situation, because a lot of people don't experience this. A lot of people don't really think about it until it's too late, and that's the time you're going to make bad decisions, I think.
Yeah, and not through your own knowledge, right? Because you're not really familiar with that. And most of the time, these things, some families get long-term diagnoses and they know what's coming, but they obviously don't want to face it.
Right.
But for the most part, people get a diagnosis, and then we have some incredible care here through all of our health systems on treating those diagnoses. But at a certain point, there becomes a time where you know that you're not just going to get better.
Yeah.
You're just not going to get better. And so that's when you have to start thinking about it. And the stress of that person not being in your life, for different beliefs, for eternity or until you are gone, right? It becomes really stressful. So you have to make a decision about that. And it's tough for people to make that. So the community needs to rally around and make sure that this information gets out, which is why I'm here. And I so appreciate the opportunity to talk about it, because it's a tough topic, right?
We appreciate what you do. And, there are a lot of things that people don't think about. Okay, we don't think about this and until it's too late. And we don't want to, people such as yourself, you don't want people to be stuck in a corner somewhere going, oh no, what am I going to do? I've got a whole bunch of things to think about. And this is where getting the help of an organization like Elizabeth Hospice. Now, Elizabeth Hospice is nonprofit.
We are a nonprofit.
Versus a for-profit hospice situation. What do we find the differences are?
So the nonprofit side of hospice services, and really in a lot of nonprofits, and what makes me the most proud to work for Elizabeth Hospice really is that we receive donations from the community. Most of the time it's from patients and families that have experienced our services, or somebody who's been moved by a friend on hospice or has had that experience. Nonprofits actually offer a wider array of services and stick with patients and families for a longer period of time, both before the death, after the death, through counseling. And we also, in fact, in the last couple of days, we've used some of those donated funds to actually pay it forward to members of our community that can't afford other things that come along with end-of-life care. As an example, if you get a diagnosis where you're using a lot of oxygen, yes, we supply the oxygen, but it plugs into your electricity and it's more expensive. So sometimes a nonprofit will help pay your electricity bill because they know that it's having an impact on the family who's already struggling, right? We've had staff chase patients around the county in RVs and try and procure generators for them so that they can run their oxygen in an RV in the Walmart parking lot.
Yeah.
I personally have cared for patients in avocado groves and under bridges because hospice can go anywhere and help anyone. And so I love the nonprofit piece of this because it gives me an opportunity to take those funds that people give to us and trust us to spend in a way that actually pays it forward for more people in the community in multiple ways. For-profit hospices typically don't offer the grief services that are so extensive that a nonprofit will offer. And they're not oftentimes completely housed in your community. They may be a corporate office in another state and they have a provider here in your area. And so we do have some great for-profit hospices in San Diego. It's not the for-profit or nonprofit that makes the case. It's how invested they are in the community that makes the difference. And so Elizabeth Hospice, as well as 2 other nonprofits here in the area, we offer an extensive array of services for people that are above and beyond what you normally would get from a for-profit.
So being around for 45 years really is a testament to the ability and the understanding and the caring, really, that Elizabeth Hospice provides.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I looked at this. One of the questions I say to ask a hospice too is, how many people have you cared for? Because oftentimes they'll say, I don't know, 20. You know what I mean? Like they're not in it for the same reasons. But Elizabeth Hospice has cared for 120,000 plus patients in our time. We've impacted a lot of families. We do veteran service pinnings. We do so many different things to help the community that, and what's interesting is, we actually share what we do with emergency rooms and clinics and other healthcare providers, because if someone comes in and they've lost a loved one, and they didn't know about hospice, they lost them, in a traffic accident or something, they'll call us and that person can come to our counseling center even though they haven't even had hospice. We'll counsel anybody who's struggling from the loss of a loved one. And that's the difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit.
And it can be a struggle for a lot of people.
It can be.
It really can be difficult.
I personally have put my keys in the refrigerator. And when my dad died, I couldn't find them. And so it affects everybody. Like you're in a fog and it's hard to think, right? And I remember 3 days later, after getting my keys remade, I found them behind the ketchup in my refrigerator. Gosh. And that's just grief. Yeah. That's just grief.
It's understandable.
And being in a fog.
That people will your mind would go elsewhere.
Yep.
Because I remember when my mom passed away back in, it was 11 years ago now.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
She was dealing with it, and this is on the other side of the country, but my sister, bless her heart, who is visiting us right now, my sister found a hospice, a hospice home, and they dealt with 2 people at a time. They had 2 patients. It was just a small home in a small town. And, I will admit that we went and visited my sister 3 years ago, and we drove by that home, and I could kind of feel my mom's spirit.
You feel it.
Yeah,
you
do feel it.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen until it happens. And I know that when we knew my mom was too close to the end of life, we expected it, but when it finally happened, it's just a crusher.
And it takes some time too, Dave, because once they're gone, it takes a while to really fully recognize that they're gone, right?
Yeah.
You still in your mind, you think they're still there, and you have to talk through it. And sometimes others, because it's such a sad topic, they don't want to talk through it.
Right.
So getting grief counseling, one of the things that we do that I think is really special is we counsel kids. Dad has a heart attack and passes, and mom doesn't know what to do. And you want to engage your kids back in the community, but the loss of a parent is tremendous. And so we do 2 camps each year for kids. We do a younger kid camp and we do an older kid camp. But the most important part about those camps is that these kids get to spend time with other kids that have experienced the same exact loss. So talking about it to each other is therapeutic, and they know that they can talk about it because the other person's, and then the similarities of experience, like, do you feel that way? Are you not sleeping? Do you miss your dad? My dad died of a heart attack, and there's some deaths that come with a stigma, kind of a societal stigma. My dad died of an overdose or was an alcoholic. Well, you pair them up with someone who's had similar experiences, and it becomes more normalized, more approachable, and they're more capable of tolerating like what's happening to them and working through counseling. So our camps, they're over a weekend, but they start up with individual and group counseling beforehand. It's really wonderful.
This is a very enlightening discussion we're having, I believe, and I'm for me, this is a thrill to be talking about.
I'm glad to hear it.
Because, as we started at the top of the show, there are things that people don't want to talk about, but people have to realize this is like taxes.
It is like taxes.
Only this is a whole lot more human.
Well, it also changes your taxes.
And it does change. Yes, it does change your tax.
Yeah.
We're talking with Sarah McSpadden, who is the president and CEO of Elizabeth Hospice, located in Escondido. And how do people find you on the internet, which is where we find everything these days?
So we have a website, ehospice.org. That will share with you all of the other offices that we have. We have an office in Mission Valley and a children's grief service program there. We have an office in Temecula. And we have an office in Carlsbad, and then, of course, our grief center in Escondido and our corporate office. We just bought a new building in Escondido, so we can really put down roots in Escondido and be a part of the community for 45 more years is what we're hoping, right?
So where do you get money? I mean, how do you support Elizabeth Hospice?
So hospice is covered by insurance. Medicare covers it 100%. Medicaid covers it pretty much 100%. There's a little bit of a payment for that. Under managed care, we do actually cover patients with insurance. Hospice itself is covered by insurance almost 100% across the board. And then the additional services like grief services and those things come out of just wonderful donations from the community.
Wow. And you have a board. Is it a board of directors, a board of advisors? We
do have a board of directors.
Okay.
And really, when you talk to our board of directors, they're a diverse group of people coming from all areas. I mean, obviously, Dave, you're a board member, and you bring your life skills and understanding of people to the organization. We have some that are in the banking industry, some in real estate. They come from all areas, but the thing that unites them is they've all experienced a significant loss or an involvement with a hospice patient's death, someone in the family, a good friend. And so they're brought to the mission for that reason. They really want to serve the community and make sure that others have that same experience, that same video at the end of life that maybe they had. And so our board members are really focused on what they've experienced and making sure that others can experience the same thing.
I know it'll take much more than 30 seconds, but in the last 30 seconds of this podcast, what can you say to people in San Diego who are about to go through an end-of-life situation, or who are not expecting an end-of-life situation, but know that down the road it's going to happen? What would you like to say to them?
Well, I think the most important thing is to know how to choose a hospice, recognize that you're under stress, and if you do nothing else, go to ehospice.org.
There you go.
Look it up. We'll explain it to you. We'll help you. You don't have to choose us. Of course, we hope you do, but if you don't have to, you have a choice. And just inform yourself if you can as much as possible, and know that when the time comes, if you reach out, we will help.
Just to know that information is there.
It is.
When you need it. I didn't know. I didn't know until you mentioned exactly all the services that Elizabeth Hospice provides and can provide. And even though, I've been a part of many of your events, and they're wonderful events, and there's a lot of compassion and a lot of love and a lot of tears.
A lot of tears.
But then again, there's happiness in remembering the people that we have known in our lives.
Yep.
And but knowing that the information is there when you need it is essential, I think, to anyone who is breathing in this century, in this town, in this part of the world. And thank you so much for your time.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. I really do. And thanks for having me.
Elizabeth McSpadden, the president and CEO of Elizabeth Hospice. Today on Drew Schlosberg, Spotlight on the Community, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. From the Mission Fed studios, I'm Dave Mason, and for Drew Schlosberg, and thank you for listening today.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.